Broadcasting from New York City to the world, it's the G-Man Interviews.
Welcome. In the previous episode, Reverend John-Aaron Baumann revealed that he and other ministers have united to try and address homelessness and increasing unemployment among residents of Cottonwood, Arizona. In an effort to illustrate the dire circumstances that many in the area are facing, Reverend Baumann shared the story of Melissa Lawson, a Texas native who relocated to Cottonwood with her 13-year-old daughter in 2012. As noted earlier, Miss Lawson, a woman with an IQ of 238, was thrust into poverty as a result of her inability to find work. With no money and nowhere to go, she moved into a dilapidated bus at a Cottonwood junkyard. She now lives in an old camper on the site without basic necessities. The stress and strain of the situation forced her to place her daughter in temporary foster care, which has created an ever-widening gap between the embattled mother and her estranged daughter. Ms. Lawson has repeatedly and vehemently stated that city agencies and officials have done little to assist her and many others that are suffering in locating employment or affordable housing. In this very special episode, Melissa Lawson explains how her dream of having a better life became the ultimate nightmare. Welcome, Ms. Lawson. I'd like to begin the discussion by asking, what part of Texas did you reside in before relocating to Arizona?
Before coming out to Arizona, I was living in Willis, Texas, in a trailer park called Walnut Cove. Not exactly the best place to be. I found that out after I got there. I mean, we got to Willis from Texarkana when I lost my job there. Ended up going down to the Conroe area in Conroe, Texas. Got my old job back from where I was living there before. But we had nowhere to go, and at the time I had let my daughter go and stay with my cousin in Alabama because me and my brother were going to be homeless in Conroe. But, I mean, we didn't stay that way. We, like I said, that trailer in Willis, Texas came up available. It's the only place we had to go, and it was a messed up, falling apart little piece of junk. But it was a place to live, you know. And that's where we were at. And I was 22 miles away from my job, driving back and forth to work. Ended up losing my job out there, and was about to lose the house and everything. My brother ended up swooping in and bringing me out to Arizona.
What type of work did you do there?
Well, there in Texas, I worked as a cashier in a convenience store. I held that job for about a year and a half. In Texarkana, before that, I was a convenience store clerk there too. Before that, I was living in Idaho, holding down two jobs, assistant manager in a tobacco store, and I did home health work and worked in nursing homes and stuff. So I mean, I've done different types of jobs, but before coming out here, out there in Texas, I was working in a convenience store in an Exxon. Like I said, I lost my job, lost my car, couldn't find work there in that area. There was nothing I could get to. I mean, Walnut Cove was like 6 miles from anything, except one little convenience store. And they didn't hire anybody from Walnut Cove because, you know, Walnut Cove had a bad reputation. And, you know, I mean, there I was fixing to be homeless in one of the worst neighborhoods in Texas, probably. Like I said, my brother and his girlfriend were coming down from Michigan, coming out to Arizona, because he was hoping to get his old job back at Palo Verde. They decided to swoop in and pick up me in Sedona, so we wouldn't be stuck in Walnut Cove. We basically left everything behind. I mean, his van had broke down in Atlanta, Texas, where my dad was living. Needed to be fixed, so my brother's brother-in-law allowed the use of his car to come and get me in Sedona. So we had to shuffle around real fast. I thought I was packing for the van, ended up having to grab a few things that were already packed to throw in the trunk of that car. So I ended up leaving stuff behind I really didn't intend to. But we still, like I said, I guess I decided to leave because I didn't really have a choice. I had nowhere else to go. So I followed my brother to Arizona.
Did you have a job or residency lined up before you left?
No, we didn't exactly have anything lined up before we left Texas. Like I said, my brother thought, since he had a welding certificate now, that he'd be able to get on at Palo Verde as a welder. He worked as fire watch for welders for about 2 years there before, and it just so happened that they were not hiring his particular group. I guess he wasn't certified enough, didn't have enough experience, whatever. But the plan originally was that we were all going to come out here, camp out there at 89B, which is a free campsite halfway between Cottonwood and Sedona. That is actually where most of the homeless people are at. Places like that, 89B and the free campsites in that area. But the plan was we were going to camp there because, they had a pop-up camper, they had the van, and it ended up going longer than we thought. We ended up in tents out there. He only expected us to be out there at the most a month. He was hoping once he got his job at Palo Verde, he'd be able to help us get set up. At the time we had 2 vehicles, David's van and his brother-in-law Steve's car. So I was looking for work. Dave's girlfriend Jana was looking for work. Steve was looking for work. But we just couldn't find anything. Yeah, there was a plan when we got here. It just didn't quite unfold the way we expected it to.
How did you end up becoming homeless?
How did I become homeless? I could probably write a book on that. It's been like, domino effect or whatever. It goes back to living in Idaho, I guess. I was working 2 jobs, taking care of my daughter, taking care of my mom, and trying to go to school. I was doing a lot of it online. I had student loans out, I was trying to better my situation. But then my mom took a turn for the worse, needed more care. Then I ended up injuring myself on one of my jobs. So losing one job and trying to cover everything on one check wasn't exactly working. Me and Sedona had to downsize from a house to a smaller apartment. Later we had to downsize again to a basement apartment, 1 bedroom. And I was trying to help my mom, trying to pay my own bills. I ended up having to drop out of school because, when you're doing the online thing, even when you get everything covered, or supposedly everything covered with student loans, you still have to pay like between $30 and $50 a month for the online part, which I don't understand that, but I couldn't afford to do that, so I had to drop out of school. I was recovering from, it was a hip injury, actually hip and knee injury. I've had problems with my back since I was 13, but this particular thing was my hip and knee. But I still managed to hang on to my second job where I was the assistant manager at that tobacco store. And then, I don't know, crazy stuff happening there at the tobacco store. I ended up losing that job. My ex-husband and his wife came to Idaho to take us back to Texarkana. We stayed with them. That didn't work out. It's never a good thing for exes to be in the same house together, I guess. But that didn't work out. But I found me a job at an Easy Mart. And Sedona and I got our own place. I was there for 6 to 8 months. Ended up being a situation there at the store where I witnessed a car accident in front of the store. And me being the kind of person I am, I locked down the store and went out there to try to help because, I thought I was fixing to have to do CPR on this little boy out there. Well, I ended up getting in trouble by my boss because I didn't remember to clock out before running to assist this kid that could have been dying. So I lost that job. At the time, my brother was working at Palo Verde. They were during their scheduled layoff period, and he and the woman he was with were living in Conroe, so they moved me and Sedona down to Conroe with them. I went down there, got me a job, and then there was a bunch of drama with the girlfriend David was with at the time. I ended up having to quit that job and go back to Texarkana. I managed to get my old job in Texarkana back somehow. And then I ended up, the problem with my knee, it tends to like slide out of joint just whenever it wants to, I guess. And that happened to me. Was off work for 6 weeks and then was unable to get my job back. So, things were messed up there. And that's why we ended up going back down to Conroe, because I knew I was going to get my old job back there. That's when I sent my daughter to stay with my cousin in Alabama. And me and my brother went down there and ended up in that place in Willis. And that job lasted a year and a half. And my van broke down. My boss was letting me use one of the cars that were up for sale on the convenience store lot there to get back and forth to work until I could fix my van. Well, that happened to be the year that student loan people snatched up my income tax check. So I wasn't able to get the van fixed, wasn't able to even pay on the car I was using because the store had to liquidate a lot of stuff. Because I didn't have a way back and forth to work, I lost my job, had no way to fix the van, so a lot of people wouldn't hire me because I didn't have reliable transportation. I ended up selling the van for scrap so I could have stuff for Sedona to start the next school year, and then we were just stuck. The next year came around, I expected, that income tax check to be able to get me some cheap little car so I could go out and find work. I even contacted student loan people and begged them not to take that check because I wouldn't be able to find another job without a car. They still took it. So, there I was, done gone at that point, 2.5 years without working. I even tried getting on disability there and was turned down because I was not under a doctor's care, which I couldn't afford. So, it was just, one thing after another, domino effect, little by little, yada, yada, yada. And, it just kind of boils down to I had to take care of survival. And then when I lost my job, didn't have the money to pay all my student loans, and they snatched up my student loan money. It's just crazy. Complicated story. I think I put it in a good enough nutshell here.
Did you reach out to local churches, shelters, or organizations like Catholic Charities for help when things started to take a turn for the worse?
Well, when we first got here, we hooked up with Old Town Mission for food boxes, showers, lunches. There's also the Loft, which is connected to Catholic Charities. I got on their emergency housing list, which emergency housing around here, you can be on their list for anywhere from 6 months to 2 years. One guy that camped with us out there at 89B, he was on the list for a year before he got a place. This other couple that I knew that were living in their car, they were on that list for 2 years, never got a place. They finally got up the money and they left. But yeah, we reached out to everybody. I got on their lists, was able to get, after my brother and his girlfriend and brother-in-law left and took off to Idaho and left me in Sedona out here, I was able to get in touch with the city bus system and was able to get on their low income for their monthly passes, the low income one, $20 a month instead of $40 a month. So I was able to get monthly passes. City buses only run during the day. They don't have a night shift, which kind of sucks, because if you end up getting a job on a night shift, you're kind of screwed if you don't have a car. Yeah, we reached out, still reaching out. Liza from Catholic Charity, she's an awesome woman. She goes above and beyond trying to help the homeless people, and I'm still working with her now.
As a result of being homeless, your daughter Sidonia was placed in foster care. How old is she, and what impact has the situation had on your relationship?
Well, let's see, Sedona just turned 14. She, actually this stuff with CPS happened just before her birthday. My first visitation with her was on her 14th birthday. Me and Sedona have always had a close relationship. The times that I've had to, I had to send her to my cousins. I remember her crying at that time. She was 9 then, thinking I was giving her away. That nearly killed me. Second time, I sent her to friends in Texarkana when things started going bad in Willis. And, yeah, I sunk into a major depression over that. And this time, how it's affected our relationship. I think Sedona has lost respect for me because she, I used to be her hero, you know. Not so much anymore. We still talk, you know. I mean, she's got her cell phone. We text chat. And she calls me a couple of times during the week. It's not the same thing, you know, as being able to tuck her in at night and be there if she has a nightmare. You know, when Sedona gets stressed out, she sleepwalks. And I'm not there to make sure she's okay. So yeah, it's affected our relationship. We're not close like we used to be. I'm just not somebody she looks up to anymore.
You claim CPS had done nothing to assist you and has even made things worse. Please explain.
Well, basically I basically got talked into signing Sedona over into voluntary temporary foster care. They convinced me it would be the best thing for her, which, considering the circumstances, I guess in a way it was. But they told me in the beginning that I had two choices, you know. I could either bring her back home and they would do the in-home services or whatever, or I could put her into the temporary voluntary foster care, which is 30 to 90 days. And if I did that, they would help me find housing within 30 days. They would help me with getting set up. They would be able to provide deposits, first month's rent, yada, 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 you know, everything to set up in a place. And they had me thinking Sedona would only be in foster care for, you know, less than a month, a couple of weeks at the most, from the way they were talking. And at the time, me and Sedona had been staying at this house with these people that Reverend Baumann and Reverend Krista Rose, you know, they helped set us up over there. But that, I don't know, that's a whole nother thing I just really don't want to get into. But the stress in that situation is what caused the emotional issues with Sedona that, you know, made CPS get involved. And I knew I was about to get evicted. But I mean, they told me all of this stuff, and I had a 10-day eviction notice, right? And I let CPS know, I let the worker I was working with know that I had, you know, till the end of the month to get out. And, okay, well, she said, well, somebody will be there to talk to you tomorrow. We'll get all this set up. We'll take care of it. So I wait. You know, I waited a few days. And while I'm waiting, I'm also checking into possibilities for places to rent. And, oh, man, rent is so expensive around here. I think the cheapest thing I found was like $650 a month. And the only income we had was Sedona's survivor's benefits check, which is $637. So, yeah, I mean, I was looking for a place even while I was waiting on CPS to do what they said they were going to do. And I'm sitting there waiting, and I'm calling this woman up. I'm calling Mally up, you know, like every other day. And she keeps saying, well, I'm surprised nobody showed up over there yet. And then after, like the day before I was supposed to be out of that house, I talked to Mally on the phone, and she tells me, oh, well, it turns out that I assigned you the wrong worker. You're not eligible for the kind of stuff that we told you were going to get because Sedona didn't come home with you. So that upset me really bad, to know that all the stuff that they promised me to get me to sign her over into voluntary foster care, I did not qualify because she did not come home with me. So all of a sudden they changed tactics. Oh, well, you're going to have to work with the resources available in the community. The only resource that's really available in the community is Catholic Charities. There's also NACOG, Northern Arizona Council of Governments. They never, I mean, you call them every month, they have nothing available. But Eliza from Catholic Charities, she's been, really working hard on that for me. But, I mean, CPS, the only help I've managed to get from them is free bus passes so that I can get to the mandatory counseling appointments. And, they'll throw me an extra one in there every so often to be able to get, to the mission to take showers and try to hit the food boxes. And so, no, I feel like I got screwed, to put it bluntly. They told me all of this great and wonderful stuff was going to happen, and made all these promises, and boom, within the first 2 weeks, everything changed. So, no, haven't really been getting any help from them, and everything totally changed.
You also informed me that there were many others in the area, including parents with infants and toddlers who were sleeping in cars. You described it as a homeless community. How have you and other members of this community managed to survive without basic necessities like electricity, food, or hot water?
First of all, like I mentioned earlier, the junkyard is not a homeless community. It's technically private property within city limits. And around here, and as it is in most places, I guess, that they don't like seeing homeless people in city limits. Now, they'll let people sleep in their vehicles at the Walmart parking lot, which is what that couple that lived in their car did a lot. But the homeless community are usually hidden in areas in the town, or they're camping out there at the free campsites, which is almost exactly halfway between Cottonwood and Sedona, the town, Sedona, Arizona. And out there, the free campsites, you're only supposed to be out there for 14 days. 99.99% of these people are hiding out from the park rangers because they have nowhere else to go. How do people survive around here? You tote water from water sources out there at 89B, for instance. You can walk down to the creek, and you got your water there. Or if you could manage to get rides into town, which is approximately 7 to 10 miles, depending on where you're going, and get water. I mean, around here you can fill up your water bottles at places like Mount Hope and Walmart on your food stamps. So you can't. Now, homeless people do get on food stamps, which is a good thing. There are a couple of food banks, well, 3 that I know of, but they don't really have a lot to give out. They give out what they can. You go to the mission. I mean, the mission provides showers on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. They're closed on the weekends. From 9 to 11 in the morning, you can take showers, pick up a food box, which is only once a week, and you can hang around there and eat lunch. And most of these people go straight from the mission directly over to the loft, which is like it's almost like an apartment thing just above Catholic Charities where homeless people hang out. You can go online there. You can do about a load of laundry, because they have a washer and dryer there, and then they have a shower there too. They also have free clothes. So, and quite a few of the people hang out at the library a lot, just to hang out. It's pretty well a set routine with the homeless people in this area. First thing in the morning, they're waiting in line at the Old Town Mission. Showers, food boxes, hang around, sit out there, smoke cigarettes, talk, wait till lunchtime, which is noon to 1 o'clock. A lot of them will directly walk straight up the street. I think it's a few blocks from the Old Town Mission to Catholic Charities, and hang out at the loft till they close, which is usually about 4 to 4:30, sometimes 5. Or some of them will, hop the bus and go over to the library. That's the basic routine for the homeless people around here. It's same thing day in and day out, except for on the weekends, because everything's closed on the weekends. So you make sure you're stocked up on your water and stocked up on your food. Make sure you got an ice chest, because some of the stuff they give you is perishable. And in an ice chest with a bag of ice, it'll stay cool for a few days. Now, as far as hot water, it's called campfires.
As you know, I spoke with Reverend John-Aaron Baumann, and he was extremely upset that no one seems to care or want to help including many of the broadcast and print news organizations in the area. I contacted CPS, and they indicated they cannot provide any information on specific cases. I also contacted the office of Governor Jan Brewer to speak to Ezra Loring at the Office of Constituent Services, and attempts were made to communicate with Cottonwood Mayor Diane Jones. To date, no one has corresponded or provided information. If no one comes forward to help, and CPS is successful in its attempt to grant full custody of Sedonia to someone else, what will you do?
Yeah, CPS isn't known for giving information to anybody, really. I don't know if anybody else has called on the case. If they manage to completely take Sedona, I honestly don't know what I'll do. To be quite honest, when I was a lot younger, I was an addict. I was addicted to the pain pills that the doctors had me on for my back problems, and I was pretty bad. I was a pretty heavy drinker. I got with Sedona's biological father, and he's actually the one that got me off all of that. And then I had Sedona, and that was a major life-changing event for me. As she became the center of everything, especially, after her father was killed in a car accident when she was 2.5. She is what makes me go on. She's what keeps me fighting. She's the focus of everything. If she is completely taken away from me, I don't know what I would do. I would lose my focus. I look at how I am right now, and if it weren't for the few friends that I have that help as much as they can, like Reverend Baumann and Reverend Krista Rose, Bogart, the guy that has this junkyard, he makes it as comfortable out here as he can for me. He actually built a water tower out here for me, a small one, holds about 50 gallons of water at a time, and he, makes sure it stays full. It's not drinkable, but, it's great for, if you want to take a cold shower or boil the water and take a warm bath. If it weren't for people like that trying to help me, I would probably just give up. Without Sedona, I don't have a focus. I just don't really think about myself that much. I don't know what I would do.